do.
This meeting is being recorded.
Cool. So yeah, it's going to be recorded and it'll be on our YouTube page. So if you want to turn your videos off, you can do that. You're more than welcome to do that. I'll have hopefully I'll have a few minutes for Q&A at the end, and then we can just maybe discuss a few things that I've spoken about on PowerPoint presentation, and you're more than happy for you to jump in, add some comments in the chat, add some questions. Maybe we can answer them together. We'll see how we go. But yeah, thank you so much for joining, everyone. I really appreciate the turnout. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day. I appreciate that it is busy on your side, I'm sure. But yeah, I'll try and go through this and make this as interesting and exciting as possible. And like I said, feel free to put up some comments on the chat box there, and any questions we'll leave toward the end and see how we can get around to answering them. I'm seeing that still a few more people joining us. So before I jump onto the PowerPoint, I'll just admit as we go, and should be ready to get started. So yeah, so basically what I wanted to talk about and what's sort of been in the forefront for most of us is, what's been happening over the last 2 years in terms of the workplace and the skills that's needed for the workplace that we've all had to adapt to. I mean, we're using Zoom right now. I'm speaking to a number of people, 30 participants already, and it's just been a massive shakeup. But the pandemic has been a catalyst, and we can't negate that fact. The fact that we've all had to learn how to use Zoom, Teams, and just work from home and make sure that we are that we have the skills and have the technology and have the mindset as well to adapt to this new environment. But moving forward, a lot more technology is coming out. So how do we now make sure that we're not staying stagnant in where we are? How do we make sure that we are adapting and are changing and are making sure that we can see what's going on now and what's coming out in the future, and moving with that pace? Because I can tell you that technology is definitely advancing at an incredible pace. Just to remind you again, if we can all just maybe mute so the sound and the background noise down. Cool. So I'll just share my PowerPoint presentation now. Yeah. What's needed in the 4IR workplace? I see a lot of names and faces that I recognize. Thank you so much for joining. I appreciate it. For those that don't know me, my name is Adrian Pillay. I'm the specialist IT recruiter for Pro Talent Recruitment. If you have trouble hearing me, let me know, give me a shout, or just put a message on the chat. I'll try and speak up. But like I said, I'm the specialist IT recruiter for Pro Talent Recruitment. I've been with the company for going on 4 years now. Prior to that, I spent 10 years in the UK working for an IT company, and just moving up the ranks, doing all sorts from quality management to IT recruitment to HR. So I've gained a lot of experience and exposure in the UK, and within recruitment, and within especially IT recruitment, I get to see how not just our lives being transformed, but also skills developed, and how we are evolving and adapting to the changes around us. So that's me in a nutshell. What I'll be talking about for the next 40 or so minutes, if you'll allow me, is basically the past, present, and future. And I hope everybody can get to see this, to see the full slide. And if you can't, just give me a shout. But the past, present, and future, the workplace, how's that changed? Education, are we doing enough to make sure that we are standing out? What's 2022 looking like in terms of technology, and what's coming up ahead for us? I'll be speaking about the skills needed in the workplace, now and in the future, and you'll get different themes along the way throughout the presentation. So hopefully, it'll either challenge you or inspire you or motivate you, but I hope it won't bore you. Toward the end, I'll just be speaking about some basic tips on job hunting, but how that's also evolving, and our industry, the recruitment industry, is certainly changing, and we're having to adapt with that as well. So tertiary education, what have we been doing? Have we been doing it the right way? A 2017 University of Florida survey recorded that education at tertiary level has three main benefits. And that's to provide people with academic skills, academic knowledge, and intellectual skills. It provides us with relevant skills for a specific career, and it also lays a foundation for success in the workplace because it helps you to research, it helps you to adapt, it helps you to work in teams. That same study found out that there are 5 particular soft skills that's most important when it comes to being hired and being successful. So not only being hired during an interview, but also being successful at that job. And those 5 soft skills are ability and willingness to learn new skills. And note that it's not just one thing. It's not just the ability to learn new skills, but it's also the willingness to learn new skills. Critical thinking stood out as a soft skill, as a much needed skill. Collaboration and teamwork. Certainly, we don't get into a job and assume that it's just us sitting at a desk. We have to collaborate, and we have to, be a team player, and that's a skill that's actually identified as something that's needed, and people need to almost purposefully and intentionally work at that. Communication skills, obviously, how you communicate with your team, how you communicate with your managers and people reporting to you. Also, the ability to analyze and synthesize information. And more, and I've seen this, especially in recruitment, that business intelligence, data analysis, those types of roles are becoming more prevalent. So it's no longer just an analog way of thinking. We have to look at digitally, looking at information. How do we analyze this information? How do we synthesize and how do we deliver a report on that? I've been reading a book by this guy, John Senai, called Foresight. You may want to look him up. And he says that about education, he says that the single most inhibiting limitation is our acceptance of the familiar. And what he means, what I gather, what he means by that is we tend to become too familiar. And familiarity, they say, breeds contempt, but it also makes you complacent. And what we've been following in terms of education, or just that ladder of school, primary school, high school, tertiary education, seemed to be the plan. Whose plan was it? Was it my plan, our plan? We've inherited our parents' or grandparents' way of thinking. Some of us, most of us, do well in school, get a degree, get a job, climb a career ladder. But what about the challenging thought of, is that traditional route to success or professional success, has that been standardized? Have we standardized it to make it the norm? I guess the challenge for all of us when we're thinking about education is, are we doing it the right way? And is it needed for the future workplace? So what does 2022 and beyond look like? A lot's happened, a lot has been changing. Technology's just been advancing exponentially. We're soon to be, they say within 5 years, have driverless cars. Internet of Things certainly is becoming more and more prevalent. And I think we're definitely moving in that direction, where more and more of our devices and technology is going to be almost seamless. Where we have smart homes, obviously this is already becoming a thing. But let's just go through a quick history lesson, if we can. The first industrial revolution started somewhere around the 1780s, and that's a long time ago. But coal had transformed the economy at that point. The steam engine, steam locomotive, it took obviously the world by storm, and drove countries forward. By the 1870s, the second industrial revolution, where electricity, steel, chemical manufacturing, gas and oil industry started taking off, entering the market, changing again the way we moved or transported or taken ourselves to other countries. It didn't happen before that. Not as much anyway. Communication obviously started kicking in when the telegraph and the telephone was first introduced. Obviously, the launch of automobiles and then the planes by the early 1900s. By the 1980s, the third industrial revolution, where nuclear energy became almost a norm in conversation. Electronics, digitization, certainly IT became more prevalent. Now, what I want you to, maybe think about while, if you consider the first industrial revolution, second industrial revolution, and the third, and now where we are in the fourth industrial revolution, are the people that were living at that time. Did they know what was happening? Did they realize the changes that were going on around them? How did they adapt? We consider ourselves maybe not as advanced, but because we're in it, we can't see the tide moving so fast. But how are we adapting? Consider the changes that people in those days had to make, and now consider where we are, where we're facing cyber-physical systemization. And a lot of these words are probably overwhelming, even for me, but artificial cognization, virtual and cloud computing, we know what that is. Internet of Things, I spoke about just seamless working with the internet in our devices, artificial intelligence and machine learning. These are all things that are currently going on and obviously taking us forward into the future. So what are some of the technology and digital literacy that we need to have or possess, or skills that we need to know about as it stands in Industry 4.0, where autonomous robots, simulation, system integration, cybersecurity, augmented reality. Do we understand the language that's going on around us? Are we making sure that we're reading up or learning or upskilling in these areas? As mentioned before, tertiary education may have got us this far, but do we understand enough about digital literacy and technology that'll take us forward and not just keep us where we are? Just some things I've been reading up on recently. Smart now means powered by artificial intelligence or machine learning algorithms. Maybe we were called smart when we were kids, but it's taken on a new form or a new meaning right now. Ready-built AI solutions already exist for HR and processes and project management within companies, manufacturing, production, design. There's soon to be an everything as a service, where before it was technology as a service or software as a service. Now we're moving into that stage where no-code revolution. For example, OpenAI, which is Elon Musk's research group, partly funded by Microsoft, recently unveiled Codex, which is a programming model that generates code from naturally spoken human language. And you're more than welcome to read up on that. But it's definitely something to look at and see how even coding and programming is now changing so quick, where in the last 5 years, let's say 10 years, programmers, developers were at a skills shortage, and I know in some cases even now. But how quick are we moving in technology to have programming models that generate code without even the need for developers to do that? We know that Meta or Facebook's metaverse, others like it as well, will simulate the real world with accuracy and create more immersive and convincing experiencing within virtual world. And again, the integration of that. Ericsson is a name we haven't heard in probably 20 years, but they have what's called, or actually researching and developing what's called the Internet of Sensors. And what that is, the merge and immersion of thinking and doing using our senses, and that will blur. And this is just some of the points under Ericsson's website. Actually, if you go into Ericsson's website, you'll find this little infographic where they talk about how the brain is going to be the user interface future, where sounds, our voice will have new voice technology where we could, I don't know, probably press a button and sound like somebody else. Merged reality, point number 6 there, where virtual reality gaming will change completely. And all of this coming out of the use of our own senses and digitizing that, and making that, taking that in. We don't even know what 4IR is going to bring. But I share this only to say that sometimes we can get stuck in, we can be complacent, we can get too comfortable, and like I said before, become too familiar with what's happening around us. But we have to start looking at the future and asking ourselves, do we have what it takes to get to move forward and move with the times, if not innovate ourselves and come up with these types of ideas. But what's needed? Upwork is a US-based freelancing platform where anyone who can do anything with any skill can sign up and get connected to any other company that has that need. It's almost like Fiverr, where Fiverr had designers mainly and developers to develop, images or develop code. Upwork brings together any type of talent with any type of company across the world. And their vice president, Margaret Lalani, I read up on this. She says that companies are competing, and we know this anyway, companies are competing with the best talent to stay competitive within their own industries. But who is it? It's people that need to develop skills to work within these fields. So how are we doing that? How are we developing skills? And what's needed in the 4IR workplace? So we are where we are, and we had to develop, we had to adapt, we had to evolve. Is it moving faster than us though? Bottom line is humans will remain humans. And what is really needed in the workplace is just being human 1.0. I don't think we'll get to a point where these traits will be taken over. Emotional intelligence, the ability to negotiate, the ability to be creative and to have critical thinking abilities. I don't think yet that this is going to be something that's going to be taken over and taken from us. We have this ability. So I think my encouragement to everybody, and including myself, is that human beings are still in control, and we have these skills and abilities or human traits that can't be replaced. But it's needed, and to a point where maybe some of you, I know I've experienced, but even these skills can be a shortage, and maybe it's something that we need to develop as well. It's broken down into 3 categories. The literacy skills, and I'll just go through these 3 slides: literacy skills, learning skills, and life skills. I'll go back. So literacy skills, what does that mean within information, media, or technology? Are we building ourselves up? Are we developing? Are we learning? Are we studying the right things within facts, figures, statistics, data? I can hear some background noise. I wonder if we can, I'll just mute if we can. Just make sure that we are staying on mute. Learning skills, again, coming back to critical thinking. They say that critical thinking, creativity, collaboration, and communication is what's needed in the workplace. Too often we find that, especially in the hiring process, from my experience, this is what HR managers would look for when they interview candidates. They would want to understand: is this person a critical thinker? Is he creative enough to be the one that thinks out of the box, or be innovative in the team, in the department? Collaboration, again, being a team player, having communication to be able to be a team player. Sometimes we can say we're a team player, but if we're not being that or being present or being engaging with our team or managers or people that report to us, it's not being very collaborative. So all these skills kind of tie in. Of course, life skills, being flexible, having leadership skills, taking initiative, being productive, having social skills. This is also what's needed in the workplace, apart from just the technology, but like I mentioned, being human 1.0 incorporates all of this. Being motivational as a leader, being inspirational, or being a visionary or a big picture thinker, taking the initiative on projects, or learning about new technology, innovating within your company, being productive, making sure that we are ourselves efficient and also driving the performance of our teams. And again, the age of distraction, where social media is we're so involved and that can be a distraction. How are we being productive aside from that, or even using that to make ourselves more productive? So the workplace has certainly changed. Obviously, with remote working and hybrid working, social skills and the ability to still socialize, even remotely, that's something we have to start thinking on. How do we make sure that this is somebody's just joining the webinar. How do we make sure that our social skills are to a point where we can still interact and engage with our teams across the world? I have clients in the UK and Australia. We do recruitment internationally as well, and if we weren't using technology the way we do, I wonder if that'll work. But then secondly, how do we make sure that, how am I making sure that I'm networking in the right places and making sure that social skills that I employ keep those clients engaged? I mean, it's not yet come to the point where that can be automated. But staying on the point of just working remotely, from the conversations that I've had with some of my clients, working remotely has been a challenge for a lot of people. So the question to ask is, if you are working remotely and working with your teams outside of the office, are you self-managed? Do you have leadership skills? Are you a critical thinker? Do you have interpersonal skills? And with that comes a list of subsets. And this is needed for the workplace where you're not in the office, because to be self-managed, I mean, at the office, you'll have your manager or line manager to assist you, support you. But do you understand, under self-management, do you understand your own emotions and triggers and your own strengths? I mean, within a team, surely that's easier and quicker to come about. But when you're working alone and working remotely, are these things at the forefront? Are we even thinking about how are we self-managed? Critical thinking, I spoke about before, the ability to understand structured problems and share that. Logical reasoning. Again, when you're working remotely, are we still remaining, agile, even in our thinking? Things to consider and think about in the workplace. So the technology is obviously over the last 2 years specifically, we've had to adapt, we've had to incorporate in our workplaces. We use things like Trello and Slack and Teams and Zoom. What else is out there? What else can we incorporate? How else can we make our offices and our teams more collaborative and engaging, and also keeping the talent within? We found that in recruitment, some of our clients will ask for a video presentation. So, where before it might have been putting a PowerPoint presentation together, now you'll have to deliver over Zoom or Teams, or even record yourself doing so. I know of a company that has a fully automated process for their HR system, as in a candidate will get a link, click on it, get onto a set of questions, complete the questions, then answer the questions over video, and then do a short recording of that as well. And that eliminates, your first interview, second interview stages. So again, just to remind you on that remote working and being disciplined and self-managed. There's plenty of opportunities out there. I mean, obviously, I went through a lot of the technology and a lot of the advances in technology, but a lot of opportunities are out there, and we've got to be the ones that are staying at the forefront and looking out for that. And how do we stand up? How do we stand up? So I'm just going to be talking about recruitment or hiring or job search in a second. But how do we make sure that our personal development is at a point where it's not always, again, stagnant? We have to identify our growth areas. We have to identify where we need to develop as individuals, and then break down those learning and development areas into measurable goals. And here's some questions maybe we can ask ourselves. Practical steps, I guess, on how to map out our current skill set, and then making sure that we are moving forward, or at least advancing and evolving. So firstly, identify your core skills. Where do you have a depth of knowledge and expertise? What discipline did you excel in or realize during work or sport or school? What is it that made you stand out? What is it that people have said, wow, you're really focused in that area, or you're really disciplined in that area? Ask yourself, maybe map out what areas you need to develop in your job, for example, or even in your personal life. Ask yourself again, would an employee need to value these skills and knowledge? Can you discuss an area, your area of expertise? So let's say you are in an area of expertise. Are you able to articulate and communicate that across to somebody that doesn't know that much? And the reason that stands out, and that point is there, I think from my experience as a recruiter and interviewing people all the time, that seems to be a challenge we face, because I'll speak to a candidate who might have worked for a company for 15 years, and he's been so good at it, but he's been so entrenched in it that when we're speaking to him in an interview, it makes it a little bit challenging for him or her to articulate and put in words exactly their area of expertise. We'll almost have to coach and draw out some of the skills, because they become so complacent in just doing, but not actually thinking and having the ability to articulate what that can be. We find on CVs, for example, maybe just 2 bullet points for a job description that could have been 10 or 15, and that would have been maybe a selling point when our clients are looking at that CV, for example. How can you develop your emotional intelligence to succeed in the workplace? Going back to one of the earlier slides, how are we identifying what our emotional triggers are and in others, and to make sure that obviously we work well, but then we also work well with teams and our colleagues separately and in the office. And then how can you apply your skills and in what settings? So these are just some of the pointers I can give you to map out your current skill set and where that could take you moving forward. Steve Jobs is known for the quote, it doesn't make sense to hire smart people and then tell them what to do. We hire smart people so that they can tell us what to do. In my experience in recruitment for the last 15 years now, is that's what managers or hiring managers, HR managers, employers are looking for. They're looking for smart people who can, one, have the skill set, have the communication, have the emotional intelligence, and also the innovation and the adaptability to bring something to the table, not just, I think gone are the days where it's, you have a job description, can you do the job? Yes, yes, tick every box, and that's it. And then you sit in your corner and you know, get the job done. I think the world is at a point where we need people to come to the table with something, with more than just something, with an innovation, with knowledge of themselves, with new skills that'll take them and the company to that next level. So just what does the job search and job hunting look like in the future? Not a lot has changed when it comes to your CV yet. It takes us, probably hiring managers as well, maybe some of you in the room, 6 seconds to scroll through a 2-page or 3-page CV. Because we'll know what we're looking for. If we don't see it in that first 6 seconds, we'll move on to the next CV. So it's really your key to the door, key to the interview, is get that CV done correctly. Find somebody that can assist you, find a template that best represents you and your industry or the skill set that you have. Keep it simple, easy to read, well formatted. Again, ask for guidance, and we're here to do that. We can help with that. You have one opportunity through that CV to make a first impression, and we have to make it count. So I would say, get all the advice you can on building the right CV. I mentioned before that we'll find on CVs job descriptions are not detailed enough, and when the job description is not detailed enough on or clear enough on your CV, it makes it even more difficult to express that in an interview. So that's something to really think about. If you can write down exactly what what your skills are, what your responsibilities were at the job that you were in, it'll certainly help you in the interview moving forward when you get to that stage. The job portals have changed, have definitely taken recruitment to the next level as well. LinkedIn is our primary focus for, or primary platform for looking for good candidates. There's 7.9 billion users in South Africa, and that's a 2020 stat. And more. So I think there's 8,500, if I remember correctly, probably more, but that's recruiters. But there's what LinkedIn provides is again the potential to get you connected to a manager, an HR manager, a line manager, a technical manager, an IT manager, not just in South Africa but across the world. If you don't have an all-star LinkedIn profile, you should get one, or find out how to get one. That's how you stand out. The more detailed and comprehensive and the more your LinkedIn profile stands out, the more attractive it'll be to recruiters and hiring managers out there. Because, like I said, it is a widely used platform for finding talent. Having LinkedIn allows you the ability to get reviews or recommendations or referrals from colleagues or previous managers. It highlights maybe some of the work you've done. If you've done published articles, you can also do that. People can see that through LinkedIn. And certainly, if like I said, if your profile definitely stands out, it's going to be a world of difference for you in your career. We still use PNet as a searching database. So register on PNet with a decent updated CV. We use Careers24, not as much as PNet, but between PNet and LinkedIn, I'd say it's a 70-30 split. Indeed is more international, not as widely used in South Africa, but certainly used globally. OfferZen is becoming more and more prevalent now. It's more for IT and technical or technology candidates, but again, something that is kind of changing the recruitment space, because I, as a candidate, can upload my CV on OfferZen, and what OfferZen does is points that CV or that skill to the right client. Now, if your CV or your profile hasn't been built up to the level that it should be, you won't get the algorithms play a role to get you presented to the right company or client. ZipRecruiter is more US-based tool, and that's completely online, where, again, I don't know if I'm going to be out of a job through this, but completely AI tool where you upload your CV, and for the personal recruiter there kind of takes you on a journey of finding you the right job. And again, like I said, it's more US based for now, but I think it's something that's going to be soon coming into South Africa and the rest of the world as well. So technology and innovation is accelerating. It's been a theme, and it will have positive influences on the way we work, on how we work and who we are as workers, and how we work in the workplace. Steve Koenig is the Vice President of research for the CTA, Consumer Technology Association, and he says in an article I read on Forbes, the future is bright. New digital tools and technology are definitely going to empower human ingenuity, creativity, productivity, collaboration, and leadership, all the things that we spoke about on this presentation. The acceleration of innovation is happening at warp speed, and we can see that it's happening around us. It will affect everything from the content of our work, where we work, how we work, and skills we need to survive. And again, something that we, that I touched on in the PowerPoint as well. But saying that and saying all of this, we have a lot to look forward to. I think I can echo his words: more efficiency, enhanced effectiveness, and a great new work experience is here to stay and moving forward. It's something that we all have to work toward to make it fulfilling for ourselves. So we've got to now challenge ourselves, I guess, to say, what am I doing? Am I adaptable? Am I versatile? Am I going to be a relic in the workplace, or am I going to be the one that's going to take the tools that's out there, innovate, and move forward? So with that, I hope that wasn't too quick and wasn't too rushed, but I want to thank you for your time. I really appreciate you staying on board, and I hope you had some insights, something that you can take away from this presentation. Obviously, I will be sending out the slides as well, so I'm more than happy to share that with you. This is recorded. It'll be going up on our portals, but do get in touch. You have my details on there. And again, thank you so much for your time. And if there are any questions, we can certainly go through them. Now, did anybody want to maybe shout or put a comment on there that we can discuss or talk about? And again, we can make this collaborative. So if anyone has an answer to the question that I don't, then feel free to jump in.
Well done, Adrian. It's Cheryl here from Science of Change. I think your topic was so on point with what we're experiencing in the market as we speak. I've seen it from a people development point of view, help organizations recruit, align, develop, and manage employees through the use of psychometric assessments. So everything you've said today is absolutely on par with what people are looking for. You have to be able to stand out. We are on a journey of self-discovery daily. If you're not standing out, if you're not educating yourself, if you're not trying to add value to who you are as a person, you're going to be left behind. So the best thing you can do is focus on yourself and how can you be the best version of yourself. So well done for all of that. It's what we look for nowadays in people. And yeah, how do we assess all of that? Well, I can certainly help you as an associate with ProTalent. I've been very successful with ProTalent's clients in enabling people to identify the strengths and weakness, or strengths and motivation in people through assessments. I love what you said about emotional intelligence, so thank you for expanding on that. I think that has probably got to be the most important dimension of an individual when we're assessing people. I always say people are like a puzzle. There's so much that goes into a person, and it's not just, anyone can put their best foot forward in an interview and a CV, but what are we looking at? All those pieces that go into that puzzle. So today, I'd love to offer everybody on the session a complimentary DISC assessment, and that was a feedback session. So please, make use of that. If you don't want to do it yourself and you have a candidate that you would like to make use of, the offer is there. I'd encourage you to really make use of that, because there's nothing better than having a good laugh and acknowledging who I am as a person.
Very generous of you. Thank you, Cheryl.
Yes.
What does that entail? So what is maybe just a quick, what is a DISC and what does it provide?
Okay, so the DISC assessment is a short assessment. It's probably about 10 or 15 minutes, where you complete a series of questions. What am I most of? What am I least of? We're looking at behavior here. And the reason why we love to look at behavior is because people modify their behavior based on the challenge that they're given. The mobile ringing, a knock on the door, an email coming through, someone talking in the background. How do you arrive? How do you display yourself? And what happens when deadlines are looming? Or what happens when the pressure's on? And that's what we as employers are very interested in, and as well as recruiters. Who are you? Like, how do you arrive? So yeah, I'd love to offer that free of charge. Test drive it, get a feel for it. We also have a beautiful webinar next week, also on emotional intelligence. I'd love for you to attend that as well. So it just really taps into everything you've said today, Adrian, and I can't agree with you more. Well done. I think you were totally on point, and I just love the dimensions you speak about, because, in life, we want to be well received, well accepted, and you need to know who you are as an individual. How do you present yourself?
Brilliant. Thanks so much. Thanks for that offer.
Pleasure. It's a pleasure.
Thank you. Does anybody else have anything to share or question or comment on? We have a few minutes before we can call it quits. I'll give it a few. Also, that book I mentioned, Johnson I, Foresight, very good read. And on this webinar, I think I mentioned on the email as well that there'll be a lucky draw where I'll be pulling up names, or at least the team will do that. I think Cindy might. Her books, How to Be Unstoppable and How Does She Do It? Both brilliant reads. How to Be Unstoppable, she wrote a few years ago, and that's basically how you can achieve more in business and life. And How Does She Do It is pretty much her life story and her 28 years in business. I think March is 28 years for Pro Talent as it stands, and this is her journey as an entrepreneur, female entrepreneur, and the challenges that she had to face, and also the balance of work and business. So yeah, I'll be getting a draw. There'll be 3 out of the 32 participants that will receive that. So thank you very much for attending again. One last reach for questions. Anything to share? Anything that you thought might be interesting or challenging, or maybe confusing? I don't know. And again, I'd like to thank you for turning up. It's again nearly 50 minutes out of your day. I appreciate you joining in and being part of this. I had, enjoyed researching more than anything else. I work in, you could say I work in IT, because I work with people who work in IT, and I work with clients who are technology driven, and they have to be innovative in what they do. But for my line of work, being an IT recruiter, I've got to understand and know what clients are looking for, and also what advice to give to candidates to let them know what clients are looking for. And this presentation really obviously changed my thinking and helped me improve as well, in that it's not, as much as it is technology that's moving us forward, it's the human drive to innovate as well. And what does it take from us to get to the point where, I wouldn't say achieved, but being adaptable and being versatile. And how do we move forward? There's a question from Kuben. Kuben, thanks for your question. Good question. Where is the job market at its current stage? Skills, qualification, experience. And so we've seen through the pandemic a lot of changes, cuts, losses, closures, retrenchments. It's been challenging for everybody. But yeah, the market has obviously changed with that. And with that meaning relevant skills. What do I have that will bring value to a company? I think it's almost been a flip now where, like I said before, that it's not just a job description. Can you do the job? Do you tick the boxes? Yes, let's get on with it. It's now candidates have to be more innovative and taking the initiative and being proactive in saying, well, how can I, if I had to send my CV to you, why don't I add a 1-minute clip of my experience? So it's you putting yourself in a video and saying, I'm not just going to add my CV to this job application. I'm going to showcase by maybe putting a presentation together or a presentation of myself on video. And that gets you one step closer. Again, it cuts the recruitment process down. But to your question about what's the market looking like, we've been busy since November 2020, and it's been, I think Cindy mentioned last year was our busiest or second busiest in 28 years. Last January was our busiest January of 27 years at the time. Employment is really picking up. But as candidates looking for jobs, we have to ask ourselves, I don't want to just apply for a job and expect people to hire me. What am I doing? How am I showcasing? How am I proving through my CV or even on in a presentation or on video? How am I showcasing and articulating and expressing what I know and the value that I can bring to whatever business, whatever industry that you're in? Too often we find on CVs shortfalls on CVs. The lack of numbers, for example. Quantitative information that one look at your CV is like, this guy knows what he's talking about. This lady knows what she's talking about. We need to be invited for an interview. So it's things like that. It's like looking at your CV critically and asking, why would I hire this person? Would I hire this person? Or what's lacking? Going back to your job history, going back to your employment history, and saying, what can I do? What can I learn? What new skill? There's online courses I've taken up. People ask me, is it worth it? Are the courses on Udemy or Coursera or Skillshare or LinkedIn Learning, is it worth it? Absolutely. The fact that you are actively learning says a lot. So definitely, I would say continue on that and don't be dismayed when the opportunities don't come. I think it starts with us. It starts with our own learning, and those opportunities come sort of spiral through that. Got a couple of minutes more. Are there any more questions, or does anybody else feel like they want to share? Or so I will be sending the presentation, the slides out. So if there's anything that maybe that can spark out of that after I send it, if you have any questions, then feel free to engage. My details, most of you have it as well. More than happy to take your call, get an email. Does anybody else want to give one last shout out to questions or any comments? Otherwise, we'll close up. We're good. Maybe give a quick thumbs up to say that we're all okay. Brilliant. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Adrian.
Thank you, Verona. Cool. So we'll leave it there. Thanks so much again, guys. I will email you. Thank you, everybody, for joining in. It was an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much. And we'll be in touch. You have my details. Stay in contact. Have a good day further. God bless.
Thanks, Adrian.
Cheers. Cheers, Sasha.
Thanks, everyone. Cheers.
Cheers, man.
Well done, Adrian. That was awesome.
No, good. Yeah, felt like it's felt like I rushed through the slides, but yeah, the content was so relevant, isn't it? Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
We just don't realize how much is happening around us, but then how much is happening around us and how less is happening within us.
Yeah, that is very true. I think we've heard a lot of up until fourth industrial revolution, you know, I mean, like, oh, the AI, we all know, we know, but how do you make yourself relevant right now? How do you expand on who you are as an individual? Because ultimately that's all we can control, isn't that true? And yeah, it's just to really learn as much as you can about yourself. And I love the points that you had, the suggestions, the tips. Someone asked for some insight into the LinkedIn profile. I think that's
Yeah,
that would be nice to offer that. Yeah. So I hope you didn't mind me interjecting there and offering the disc profile.
I really appreciate the offer as well. I mean, that's
Yeah.
a huge thing. You know, I think many of our candidates don't realize that that's a thing. You know, when they go for an interview, it's like, oh, well, I didn't know there was going to be a.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I want to show you how I want you to use it on one of your candidates, like a really good template to say snippets that we took from the disc profile and put it in your CV. It looks so amazing as like an executive summary, you know, and like you say, 6 seconds, a recruiter quickly glances through and goes, they pick up on all those working strengths and like, wow, okay, well then you got my attention, let's carry on looking. You know, those 6 seconds are just unbelievable. So if we can get that grab in the beginning.
No, for sure.
That's what you want. So the offer is there. I will put it in an email for you to expand on. And yeah, absolutely, man.
Yeah, I'll include it when I'm sending out the slides as well. So
perfect. And just that EQ, you might want to attend that webinar. I think it will add a lot of value to what you're saying right now. I think you might want to diarize that and just attend it, because you're so on point with, and you elaborated nicely around EQ, but I think you could actually elaborate a lot more. It's a vital dimension, and it's something that people have to have. You know, you look at your technical skill set, and that's what you have, that's what you bring to the company, that's awesome. But your ability to manage, lead, and work through people is pivotal, and that's what you do. You sell people.
That's true.
If you can't do that, what are you going to add to our organization? Who are you going to be? You know, so EQ is really, that would be lovely if you can attend that one. It's on the 24th.
Yeah, I saw the link. Maybe just when you're emailing me, include that link. I can obviously export this chat on the side anyway and get that. And that's next week, isn't it?
Yes, next week. Yeah.
But I've got a not to attend on also Fourth Industrial Revolution again on Thursday. That's with Startup Grant. I've joined. You know, there's a few startup grants across the world. You know, it's a Google initiative to help small businesses help startup, mainly tech, or majority tech, but startup businesses. And it's it's a forum. We used to have it in Durban before the pandemic. But one in New York, and maybe I'll send you that link as well.
Let me have a look at that. I'd love to check it out. Yeah, sounds awesome.
It's a free webinar that's in New York. So I'm joining that on Thursday, and it'll be very insightful. So hopefully, yeah, it's just a matter of learning, isn't it? It's just a matter of engaging and getting involved and getting, you know, things like this. I was impressed with the turnout. So
yes. Yeah, and you kept everybody there for a full hour. Well done, man. Yeah, I always say how hard it is to get 30 people in a room, eh? And
Well,
then
exactly, yeah.
you've got them for an hour or 50, 40 minutes, you know, like you said. Yeah, well done. Good,
How
man.
have you been a business and work has been busy, and we didn't catch
You know,
up.
so one of the questions were, you know, what is the market like at the moment? It's pumping. It's pumping. We're assessing like left, right, and center. I mean, just so busy with the assessment side of things. People are obviously wanting to glean further insight into people, not just a CV and an interview, you know. So there's a lot more to it with your more senior placements and making sure we have the right person.
Yeah.
Making sure out of the two, who's the best person.
Yeah,
And looking
exactly,
at, you know, you're talking about creativity, communication, you know, relationship building. Those are all, it all talks to your cognitive ability, but mostly emotional intelligence. And then one lovely one that I've been working on, and you might like this, although whoever handles finance, but integrity. You know, looking at the tendency to divulge in information, the tendency to crook the books, or integrity is a big one.
So there's a category within your assessment.
Yeah, it's another dimension. Yeah. So like I said, that piece of the puzzle, you know, there's so many bits and pieces that make up who we are as a person, and integrity would be one dimension. So yeah, man, it's crazy. So the market's busy. I don't know. You guys are having your busiest time. People are employing people and moving.
No, it's definitely something to behold. And we've been doing a lot of international recruitment as well. So that's huge.
Fantastic.
And just remote work change the planet.
Wow. That's awesome.
You don't have to be working in Australia to work remotely. You can work in South Africa to work remotely. You can work in anything. You know, it's just.
And we are more favorable because of the time zones, right?
Yeah. Well, South Africa. Well, that's the thing. South Africa has the talent. We've got the communication. We've got the I think the zeal. And then, you know, we're setting up interviews with people in Australia and the UK, and they are impressed. You know, beyond. They're like, obviously.
Wow.
But
that's cool.
But the exposure that we're getting is just, you know, it's taking to another level where they're finding, oh, you know what, if it's going to be remote, we don't have to hire in the UK, we can hire in South Africa. And the time zone's like 1 hour difference, 2 hours difference. It's minimum. And we've, you know.
Just as long as we're earning pounds.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, we're not falling short. Definitely, we're not shortchanging anyone.
Yeah.
That's a good thing. But cool.
Awesome. Yeah. All righty. Well, you have a happy day, and we'll chat to you again.
You too.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Yes.
Cheers then. Bye.